from Zoom that allows YouTube to make that direct connection, that I don't have to go outside of Zoom, and I'm able to do that in their enterprise version, and that seems to be working fine. Okay, so any questions before I begin? So let's do this. If I can have 2 volunteers for class participation to moderate the chat. Do I have any volunteers?
I can do it.
Okay, Isa, you can be so kind, and anyone that wants to join, Isa.
I can also do it.
Okay, so Morgan and Isa, if you can be so kind just to see, and then just unmic yourselves at appropriate time and let me know what's available, if anything. Okay, any questions that you want me to address about the material, about the scope of the exam, how it is going to be? We're all going to meet on Monday, right, Blake? Do you know that? Monday? Are you aware? Blake, where are we meeting, Blake?
Yes, I'm aware that we
Okay,
have.
where are we going? Where are we going to meet?
It is in
It's not
the
going to be in a bar.
SBA 204.
Yeah, and that's the School of Business. It's on the 2nd floor. So have you ever been there?
I have.
You have?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you can help your other students there get there on time. So we should, what I suggest you do, before 5 o'clock, kind of hunker down and get there. Okay, so anything else? So let me share my screen with you and I'll talk about some things, and then I'll be able to have you see me at the end. We see everybody, and I see Morgan and Isa there, ready to moderate the chat. Okay, so this is, let me make this larger. This is my what's due. We always want to go to my what's due, and it's off. So I see we had on Monday, we had our notebook LM, which is great that we had it on Monday. So now you can use already, right, Isa, on Tuesday and Wednesday, you could already go through those questions, and hopefully it'll be interesting to see. We could do a study. We could almost do a data mart study, Daniel, and see, did the notebook LM, did we get higher scores for those that use the notebook LM for preparation than past semesters, huh? It almost could
We should
be
compare, yeah.
right. We could do a research paper. We could be you could be published with me in some of my research, Daniel, on basically the use of AI. Does it increase test scores by using this ahead of time? Okay, so it's March 3rd. In the PowerPoints and documents section, we have the review guide. And we talked about it, that it really isn't a lot. We have chapter 1, TG1, TG2, 5, and 4, which is nice that our last assignment, the sample group, Daniel and Sebastian did chapter 1, and you guys did the rest of the chapters. It'll be taking place in the School of Business PC lab. I guess, Daniel, you can decide maybe near the end of the week or something, you can put, or even today, you can put out an announcement, I guess, just to cover the base. You decide on the timing, Daniel, whether you want it now or closer to the time, but you can put an announcement basically of this right there of,
I can do that.
Yeah, so at least we've that no one can say, "Oh, I missed it." Right,
I can do
Daniel?
that now.
That we said it so many times. I appreciate it, Daniel. And the exam will be in person. The exam, I just want to realize, Isa, that I was talking about before, up to now, everything was open notes, open book, open AI software, right? Just in the exam, we're going to use your mind. it's all going to be stuffed in there, right in the brain, and hopefully be put out there. So just as you know, what Daniel said, you and respond. This is an exam. I'll allow the entire class period. Those of you that need special accommodations, you can let me know in the very beginning of the class, but I will accommodate everyone in the class. But you know that everybody usually finishes in time. Bring your picture ID, your cane card, or your government ID. So if I think about that, Isa, why am I asking you in terms of security? Let's review this way. Security and controls, right? Why do I ask you to bring a pictured ID, cane card or government ID? Because I want to do what? What we've learned in security and controls. What am I looking to do?
Authentication.
Right? Look how you throw that out, Isa, right? Is authentication that you are who you are. Now, is there a way, as we said before, we want to mitigate the risk that you didn't pay for somebody to take the exam, but it could be also, you could even pay somebody to take, to be in the class for you, you know? I think I told you, and I don't know if I told you, Daniel, that when I saw the CEO of Zoom, he is having a problem with his stock market price after COVID, right? People are going back to the office, going back to classes. The Zoom growth is not as it was during COVID. Number two, there are a lot of competitors now. You can use what? You can use basically Teams. You can use Google. There's a number of different ways in which you can get in line and converse. So he is just basically like all other entrepreneurs, just thinking about what he can do. He took away in Zoom. He took away basically the video and makes it collaboration or communication. He wanted to be more broad. So he was thinking that he would create avatars and agents to be in meetings. I think I mentioned that. So he basically said he would train his avatar, his agent, to be a good negotiator. So if there was a negotiation meeting, he would send his avatar instead. So you could, Isa, send your your student avatar to take your place, and they could. Can you change a name on Zoom? So you could be really your avatar there that looks so good and put Isa Rodriguez, Vasquez there. But this is what we're going to have to do. I don't care how you study for the exam. I just know that you need to be prepared. If you want to use Notebook LM, fine. If you don't want to use it, that's up to you. But you know that it's 2 parts. Let me repeat. There's a multiple choice, true, false. That's very similar to the quizzes you took. Remember in Blackboard that you took the adaptive assignment. You also took quizzes that you could take twice. You remember that, Morgan, that those quizzes you can take twice. What I suggest you do is review those questions too. Do you know how to review them, Morgan?
Do you just go back in and you can like look at them at the
But
quizzes?
try it now to see if you can get
Okay.
in, because it'll
Okay.
be worse off. You know what I mean, Morgan? If you're having difficulty, and then come back to us and tell us how you did it. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? Because also you have a different version than I do. You have a different role than I do. So when I look at the quizzes, it's going to be different than when you look at the quizzes. So see if you can go and you can basically see what you've done. You can't, if you've done it twice, and it's dated, you can't take it again. But can you view them? That's the
Yeah. Well, I just went in and it was like I've only taken one quiz twice and it like won't let me see it. So I don't really know.
Okay, but how can you see it?
Well, I just clicked on the quiz and I was like begin, but then it said like all my attempts are
Okay, so
there.
how can you see what you've done? Anyone else? Isa, have you done that? Have you looked at it?
I did look at it, but it's showing the same thing. Like I can't go back.
Okay,
and
does
set it.
anybody, so this is in the class. Do you understand, Blake, what I want you to do? The class to figure out how can you see the questions again in the quiz if you've taken it twice? Because do you remember what the questions were in the quiz? I don't remember what the questions were in the quiz.
Do you have to
sure
take
you
it
don't.
twice before you
What?
can do it?
You understand what I want from everybody now? Does everybody understand what I want? Everybody has to have their cameras on. What do I want? Harlan, what do I want you to try to do? Harlan Ezra.
See if we can find the access to quizzes.
Yeah, find the quizzes. Can you see the questions and the quizzes?
I've done it before, and you just go
How
to
do you do it, Lexa? Great.
my grades, and then you click on which quiz you want to see, and then you click on it like on the blue, and then you
You
click
want
on
to share your screen?
yeah, I'll do that.
Isn't that a great idea? Kudos to Alexa. Extra credit, Alexa, that you found it. Because everybody would say, right? Morgan, hey, because you could take it. So what do you have to do?
So you go to my grades, and then you click on which quiz you want to see, and then
Okay.
calculated grade, and then it'll show you the question.
Calculate, right. And it shows you whether you got it right or wrong. And it's good right there. Stop at this point, right? This is on hardware, right? It's good to also look at the questions and understand what the meaning is.
Yeah.
Right? In that case, Alexa, because it's easy when you were taking it for a thing, oh, just let me find the right one. And since I got the twice, I guessed on this one and it was wrong. So let me go back and do it. But basically, one of the things that you want to do, you got it right, is the idea of what basically, if I look at question 2, it manipulates the data and controls the task performed by the other components. So basically, in this idea is to try to figure out also not only the question but look at the alternatives of A, B, C, and D. And sometimes even in taking it, I would make sure you take it smart, right, Alexa? So on number 2, I know manipulates the data and controls the task performed by the other components. You can look up what ERP is, which is Enterprise Resource Planning, and Electronic Data Interface for B and C, and those look way out of the line, right? So I removed those already, and then you could see the CPU. But then, thank you. So that's a great. So I would do that, Isa. Make sure that I would go through those. So at least 1, you didn't remember, and 2, look at the alternatives and look at what the question is asking and make sure, because you may get a similar question, but different alternatives. But if you know what they're talking about, it'll be easy to do it rather than, you don't want to remember, oh, that was C or that was D, who cares? But also it's the idea is once you know the material, it's easy to do it. Morgan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, on the test, like, would it be better to use the quizzes to study or like the adaptive assignments?
I would do both. I'd start with the quizzes.
Okay.
Get that out of the way. And then I go through the adaptive assignments. And then I would go also see what the multiple choice were from even the notebook LM. You can go to the audit area and see everybody else's questions, right, Morgan, for those. And then what I would do is also I would go on that study guide, Morgan, and see if I would understand those terms, right? Once you understood the terms, then even no matter if it was like a variation on those, you could figure it out, rather than, I don't want you to, go through the quiz and say, oh, I hope she gives me the exact same question and I'll memorize it, C or B. You know what I mean? Number 1, it's too taxing. Number 2, it's once you know something, it doesn't even matter, if it, and also take your time and read the question. You know, sometimes Morgan, it's like it's not, or it's false or true, and then you think about the opposite. So read through it, and once you understand the material, that's what a couple of things is. My better students that really studied, if they got something wrong, it was just like a stupid, oversight that they read it. I read it as not, and it was supposed to be, I read it as true or something like that. Okay, so thank you, Alexa, for sharing, and thanks also, Morgan, for you asking the questions. And then also, Morgan, that there's two parts. The multiple choice is only 60 questions, and how many chapters are there? There's 5 chapters, so it's not that many from each chapter, and then they're open-ended. You have all the open-ended questions, Morgan, right? And I'll ask up to 3 questions on those. You decide which way. I'm giving you an option. There as 2 separate parts. So once you finish let's say you do, Morgan, the multiple choice first. Once I'll let you go back and forth. Sometimes on multiple choice, you go through it and I say, oh, I want to go back to question 4. You can do that. So it's not like you have to be in that order and get all of them, so you can skip some, but you can go back and forth. It'll be different questions possibly for each person, but they'll be similar there. And then once you finish that, you'll need to have your phone because you need to submit and get your Duo Mobile to get in. And then once you finish submitting that, you'll do the open-ended or vice versa. And in the open-ended, you can do it. I'll be giving you all the questions of the 2 or 3 questions, and you can decide. You have to do them all that I give you, but you can decide, oh, I want to do number 2 before I do number 1. You know what I mean? You have it. But once you have it, then you submit it. And you have to show that you've been prepared for it. Like a 1-sentence deal is not going to make it. Okay? And these are the concepts. The only thing people were talking about before, Daniel, was they didn't know what they were trying to look up: faster, cheaper, mini. But basically what we're trying to do here is look at the trends. What are the trends
the trends of
happening?
hardware characteristics.
Yeah. So that's what some from my other class, just to give you feedback, they were saying they weren't sure what this referred to, even though we have
The
here.
words are kind of clumped into sections.
I know.
yeah.
So I'm just giving you right. So what we've done is we brought it into sections. So this is like the hardware section, right? That we had, right? That trend being, of course, even with AI, is that we're definitely spending, these companies are spending billions of dollars, but basically that hardware for the same amount of RAM and storage is getting less expensive. It's getting faster, right? We want to do faster. When you go and buy your phone, right? For the same phone with the same characteristic, it would be less money, but you're getting a phone or you're getting a computer that is faster. The CPU characteristics, what is input, what is output, that primary storage that they were talking about in the book, that this is going to be a way that we also need to know what is, let me just put this in. We use it all the time, of what is volatile versus non-volatile. And what does that mean? In this case, Alexa.
Volatile just means that it's like
Does it always stay? What is
no,
static?
no,
Which one's static?
non-volatile.
Non-volatile, right? So if I store something, it's going to be there, right? I store something on my drive or if you stored something on the cloud, right, on that drive, it will be there tomorrow. But if I'm working on this notepad here and I don't save it, if I go back to the note and I shut down my computer and go back, it will disappear. It's volatile. So anything that's stored right now, this notepad is stored in primary storage. In RAM that we're doing it, I need to file save as, right? And save it somewhere. I can save it on my desktop. I can save it in my download. I can save it in the cloud, but I have to give it a name and save it. So it's the same way that I have the idea of volatile versus non-volatile. So these are the characteristics that I have that I can think about volatile versus non. The arithmetic logic unit, right? What that does. Arithmetic means it's going to be adding, subtracting. It's going to be greater than, less than, in order for me to sort. Logic, right? Arithmetic, it's going to be, and the unit, the control unit, RAM versus ROM. So you're on a roll then, Alexa. If I think about random access memory versus random, basically that in this case, that I'm going to have this as read-only memory, and this is going to be random access memory, and this is going to be read-only, what is going to be static, what is going to be non-volatile, Alexa?
ROM.
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 ROM, meaning that when you get a computer or when you get your phone, any one that you have already built in by the manufacturer, it has some software there that gets basically your phone up and running, gets your computer up and running. It's stored by the manufacturer in ROM, in memory, but it's read only. It means that it can't be deleted. When I say something is read only, it will not be you as the user cannot delete it. Versus RAM of random access memory, that where I store it, where when I use a program, it goes into RAM. That is then volatile or non-volatile? Alexa, you're on a roll.
Volatile.
Volatile. You're my Dr. Volatile, non-volatile today. Okay, so these are the ideas that we were talking about, right? The threats, vulnerabilities, and people were asking me too, is it going to be applied or definitions? And my answer is it'll be both. Some questions will be applied, some questions will be that you need to know the definitions of it, that we talked about it before. And these are then the 7 open-ended questions. I will not ask, there may be a little bit difference in wording, but it will be these topics. You got it, Alexa? So you don't have to think, oh my goodness, is she going to ask about something else? You know, if you open up the newspaper, right, every day there's something new, right? That it's even hard to keep up. But you can see on these kind of ways, for instance, compare and contrast risk management and risk analysis, right? Basically, I have to think about this applies to what? Morgan, what does this apply to? Risk management, risk analysis of what?
Like making sure that like nothing can come in and like
It's
affect
basically protecting my
data.
information, my data. This is about information security.
Yeah.
This is about security, but information security that we're talking about. We do risk management analysis every time. You leave, right, on the weekend, right? And you want to go out. You ever go out on the weekend, Morgan? You don't have to tell me where you go, but you decide to go out, right? You're doing some type of, there's some kind of risk when you go out, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to go to this place versus another, right? There's some risk there. Oh, I don't know the people. Who knows what kind of people there are? You know, how am I going to get there? Are you going to take an Uber? Well, do I trust that Uber driver, right? Should I get a ride from this person or that person? Who's going to be, is somebody going to be drinking, right? Or not drinking? You're thinking about all the time, what do you want to do? You want to you know there's some risk, you going out at night, right? You know, what do you want to do? You want to manage the risk. What do you want to do? You want to have more, you want to manage it. Everything in life is risky. You get out of bed, it's risky. You may, trip or something, right? Somebody, kids in the class are getting concussions by something, you know what I mean? Ball hits them or whatever, there's a risk. But what you're going to do is analyze that risk and say, what are the benefits? I really want to go out. I love to go out. I love to go dancing or whatever it is. You take that risk. The same thing with information protection, right? Information security. I need to protect my data and I'm going to do an analysis. And then my kind of the things is what's the difference between risk management and risk and now how am I going to analyze that? And then I want to give examples in a university setting how they would protect not just risk in general, but information security. Give examples in a university setting of what they would secure, whether it be student data, whether it would be faculty data, whether it would be grades, a number of different ways in the setting. They have to protect what? Your social security. Were you there when we had the chief security officer come in? He was talking about ways in which we can do that. And here it's about the idea of notebook LM, right? When it's useful, recommend, what would you do to fine tune it? You've used it, explore the potential benefits of something like this. It may not be, if it's not even notebook LM of Google, it could be expanded to anything else that would be looking at basically uploading some documents, having it then summarized for us, then doing a podcast, some voice to be able then to enter it and join it. What were the issues some of you were talking about? And here, define data governance. Explain how it should be implemented in a university setting. Differentiate between authentication and authorization. Remember, you just told me, Isa, authentication, right? How does that differ? Which one of these processes is always performed first? To illustrate, provide specific examples of least privilege. What the heck is least privilege then, Harlan, Ezra? What's least privilege? You got a clue?
I don't know.
You don't know. Not good. So what do you think, Ethan? Have you ever heard me use least privilege?
No, I haven't heard that either.
You haven't heard it. Okay, what should you be doing then?
Research.
Yeah, right. Not that I'd be asking each one, right? So Graham, have you ever heard of least privilege?
I have not.
Well, you don't have to wait for me to call on you, right? You should be doing it now, right? And Tessa, least privilege.
Yeah, I'll look it up now.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Yeah, we should have done it before, right? As soon as I ask one person, right, George? As soon as I ask that first person, right? You should all be doing it. Looking up what is least privilege and what has been the way. What is
Sorry, I'm
least?
like a little bit sick, but I did
Okay, fine.
ChatGPT an
Okay.
example. No, it said like a teaching assistant should only have access to student grades, not financial records. So like I was gonna ask about this, like does it mean that like to a certain extent, basically? Like least?
Okay. Where have we used least privilege? Give me an example of where have we talked about roles? Remember whenever I said need to know? Do you ever remember I ever mentioned that? Need to know? Did you ever hear when I said need to know?
Is that kind of like the information that like we don't need to know?
Exactly. Yeah, there's certain things do you need to know your grades?
Yeah, of course you need to know your grades. Yeah, absolutely.
You need to know how you've done, right? It can't be, you don't want to be able to say, oh, I took all these tests. I have no idea that's the need to know. Do you need to know every other person's grades in this class?
No, probably not.
No. So what's the least privilege? Meaning you have a privilege to know your grade, but I want to make in terms of data governance, give each person that has access to data the privilege to have the data that they are entitled to have, or that will make their job successful. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So that's least privilege. So you see that, Brielle? Least privilege, you're going to have the privilege to know what? In this section, what? Your grades. Can you download? Can you access the quizzes that you need to take? Brielle.
Yes.
Right. Access, and in this case, you have the role in this case of this class is what? What's your role? My role in this class is professor, right? Do I have more things that I need to know than you for this class, for this section? Brill. Then you.
Yeah, definitely.
I need to know everybody's grade in my class. Do I need to know your grades in your other classes this semester?
No.
Do I have access to that? They give me least privilege.
No.
They don't allow me, the people that are involved in data governance, to say Dr. Rush has no business. You almost can think about, do you have the business? You can almost say least privilege. Do you have the business? She has no business looking up George's grades in another class. Right, George? I have no business in that. That's not going to affect how you did in my class. I have at the end of the semester, I have to basically put in grades for each of my students. So what do I need? I need data that tells me how you've done on all your assignments and all your tests, on all your group projects. So you see, Jose, in this case, Jose Simon, in this case, least privilege is that you're giving the user opportunities that they need to know their job. And it's based on roles. What role do they have in the organization? Your role in this section is what, Jose?
Student,
Student. My role in this section is what?
professor.
Yeah, professor. So I have more privileges, but they still give me the least privilege that I need to have. Meaning I only get to see the grades in my sections. I do not get to see students in other sections. I get to see when I go to, there's another program that's enterprise resource planning. I get to see my salary. Do you think I get to change my salary?
No.
Jose? What? I think I deserve maybe 10 times more than they're paying me, right? But I don't get that right? But I get to see what they're paying me, right? I get to see that they've deposited a check in my bank account. Now I supervise Daniel. He is my teaching assistant. Do I get to see his salary? Jose?
Yes.
Yes. Do I get to see how many hours a week he put in? I have to sign off on how many he submits his hours that he worked to the system, but I have to approve it. Right? He puts in because they say I need to approve it, because if he puts in he worked 100 hours this week, I would go back to him and I said, what did you do for 100 hours? Did the students bother you so much? 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So those are the ways in which least privilege is. So as we go along with that, Morgan, is there somewhere what we did in the class that you got least privilege, but your role was expanded? That you could do more? That you could upload? You can't upload to this section.
Maybe in like one of the assignments.
But what? In just one assignment?
Well, yeah, there was one where like
Only
I have-
one assignment? Think
Well,
about it.
no. Like
Oh, no,
all of
think about it before you speak. Think
Like,
about it. Is there another section? You have more than one section with me here. Most
Yeah, the
classes, you only
audit.
have one section. You're the student.
the audit.
The audit, what do you do in the audit? What's unique in the audit?
Don't we have like more, we have access to other things other than just
What are
like,
those other things? You're gonna need to know what those other things are. You can't write, we have access to other things. You have to be
Yeah.
articulate, right? So what
Mhm.
are the other things that you're aware? So
like
go
all of
to
our
the
group.
audit area right now.
Okay. Yeah, we have
These are
like
the things that you need to know that a lot of times on that least privilege, because what are they asking for? To illustrate which of the performed, to illustrate importance, provide examples that were applied in class.
yeah,
So
there's like
a lot of times that
assignments
that chat GPT notebook LM doesn't even know what's applied in class. You have to know what's applied in class,
yeah.
right? You have to know what's applied in class.
Yeah.
So if I look at it, Isa, what was applied in class?
Like you can edit other people's assignments and create folders and just you have more features that you're allowed to
Okay,
add and
so what
change.
is your role in the other class? In that other section?
TA or
You're a
training.
TA. You have least privilege, but your role is what? A teaching assistant. So you have more capabilities, right, Morgan? And how can you tell, Morgan, that you're a teaching assistant in that other section? How do you even know that?
Because like if you go and see like the people, you can see like it'll say like your
Well,
name.
first of all, let's share your screen. Are you in
Okay.
the audit area?
Yes.
So go and share your screen.
Okay. Um,
You understand what I'm asking Morgan about, Ethan? What am I asking? While she shares her screen. What am I asking?
Sorry, was that me?
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah.
What am I asking?
Yeah, so you're basically asking her why we have, different permissions in the audit
Right,
assignment.
permission. It's still least privilege, right? But it's on that idea of least privilege for what role? What role is everybody then, Morgan?
teaching assistant. It's like right
Teaching
here.
assistant, and teaching assistant has more. It has a greater capabilities as a teaching assistant as you do what? As
A
a
student.
student.
Yeah.
Why? So at this point, are there any, in this case, where are your grades? In which section? In the audit area or in the regular area? Your grades.
It's in the regular area.
So do you have access to change your grades in the regular one?
No.
No. But you have the audit area. I've given this audit area so you can see different roles, least privilege, but you have the need to know you're changing your role and you're able. Could you delete? Is there a possibility you could delete your own work here? Yes. Is there a possibility you could delete others' work here in this section of everybody being a teaching assistant?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, not you think so, you can. So you have to be careful. So there are responsibilities here that, what did I say? And you may not have done it in this case, Morgan, is that you need to back up your work in another area in the cloud or back it up on your secondary storage. Because why? Because your data in this section is vulnerable.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So some of these open-ended questions you just can't get from, right, Graham? You just can't get from ChatGPT or Notebook LM because it's asking specifically on what happened in class. You see that, Graham? So you have to think about, what does that mean for least privilege and talk about in class that we talk about least privilege. It basically, they restrict you. Now, one of the things here is if go down and see if you can find me. This is alphabetical order, right?
Okay.
And notice, Anna, are you here? Anna Hollister? She here? Okay, so go down to the next page. You see there with show all, or go to the next one. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, do you find me? What is different on the roles? Is everybody teaching assistant in this role?
Oh, instructor, yeah, right.
Oh, instructor. Oh,
Mhm.
instructor. So I have a different role even here, right? I have a different role here. So what can I do? So my different role will give me least privilege of this, but it will give me a different permissions than you have as teaching assistant. And the only thing in this section that will allow me to do is you all can delete each other's in this section. You cannot delete me. You understand that, Morgan?
Yeah.
So if you wanted, and you definitely wouldn't want to, but you could, there's a possibility that they give you. So if you were the teaching assistant in my other section, if there's students that didn't come to class and never showed up, Daniel could delete them from the other class. Right, from the real class, because I said they wouldn't do it. I trust Daniel that he would, ahead of time, he would ask. And usually what we would do is we would usually keep them until maybe somebody just didn't show up. It's still, you know, maybe they were sick, maybe something happened to them. We would still keep them to the end of the semester. You got it? So you can stop sharing now, Morgan. Thank you for participating. Does that help, Morgan? Understand it?
Yes, it does.
So rather than there's things that we can do, if you wrote that in your answer, that would not count.
Okay.
You understand? Because things I guess we can do different things.
Mhm.
You have to specify exactly what's happened. Okay? So, Emerson, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. So at this point, so it's the same type of thing that if you do the review here, what I do then is I would look at the quizzes, I would look at the PowerPoints that you had for each of the chapters. You can fill those out, right? And ask for multiple choice. You could even put, right, that you were doing before. You put everything up in Notebook LM under Wiley, reading and adaptive. If I go here to the resources, which you all have too. You see where it says course resources? Do you see that, Brill? There's something called practice. Do you see that, where I'm highlighting practice? You can go to practice, and let's say we do chapter 5, managing data, the database approach. Basically, we have questions here too. Here's no SQL can process both structured and non-structured data. And let's say, in this case, we say true. You can go through and see questions on a number of these. They can give you questions. Let me go back. You can, in this case, it gives you practice questions on managing data, right? When a customer accesses a website and makes purchases, they generate. What do they generate? Tracking cookies, information, click streams, data, website, web data, hyperlink data. Then what I can do as well, let me go back to J. I can go to Wiley Adaptive And when I go to my data acknowledgement, I can go, for instance, into data warehousing and data marts. And if I look at data warehouse and data marts, let me just go back here, it's better just to get it from the sources. Let me just go here. Let me get it from here instead. Wiley Resources, sometimes it doesn't give me the book. I just go into here. Get to work around. There's some bugs in the Wiley. So let's find data warehouse and data mart. So if I look at data warehouse and data mart, right? This is the question. And Alex, how are you doing? The question is, when I think about a data warehouse and a data mart, am I thinking about historical data, B, real-time data, C, forecasted data, or D, none of the above? When I look at a data warehouse and a data mart, is the data historical, real-time, or forecasted?
Would it be historical?
It's historical. So what I basically do in a data warehouse, and then if we had an inventory database, Alex, and let's say, you know, we came up together and said, you know, when new students come in, what we should do is they want to buy fancy cars. What we'll do is we'll deliver it to the university. They order it ahead of time and we'll deliver. That'll be our guide here. And the question is, I have an inventory database of the cars we have available. You know, we got some local dealers and they're giving us their car, you know, they're letting us look at their inventory. Is that inventory historical, real time, or forecasted?
Is that real time?
Real time, right? We don't want historical. We don't even have what they had last month. You come in and you want a Tesla, or somebody wants a Tesla. We want to make sure they wanted the color black, or they wanted one of those trucks. Have you ever seen those trucks he has or whatever, right? We want it real time. Data warehouse and data marts are historical, right, Alex? It's when we want to do some kind of study that we store historical data. So if it were student data, it is data that is in the past. It's not real-time data. And data warehouse is large. Think about a warehouse, but we're storing data. And data marts are for a specific study we want to do. The data warehouse may be on all our data, and it may be on our data of all our graduating seniors. And the data mart would be, I'm curious to see what majors seem to have done the best at this university. Or it may be we may do a survey at the end when they graduate, you know, when they're graduating, how happy were you at the university? And we may want to see is where was the best fit? Or we may want to do a data warehouse on our past students that graduated already. And maybe after 5 years, we want to see who succeeded the best. Those are all my data warehouse and my data marts. So when you think about describing a data warehouse and a data mart, you're thinking about it's a data warehouse being a repository. So Alex, what's a repository? It's basically a place, and it's basically can be in the cloud somewhere where you're storing that historical data, and it's organized by subject. It could be subject meaning undergraduate students. It could be another subject graduate students. It could be even another one business students. It can even be by department. And basically a data mart is always smaller, and it's by individual department. So Alex, what major are you?
Finance.
Finance. So the finance department maybe would have then a data mart and they would say, which of our students really succeeded in these courses? Or they may look at their alumni from finance and who really succeeded in Wall Street. What courses did they take? What were their majors? What GPAs did they have? What courses were most useful to them? So it's organized by business. It uses online analytical processes. It's integrated. It's time variant. It means that it may be we'll maintain it only for a month or we'll maintain it for 5 years. It depends on our times that we will. And this is the key. You're on a roll. What does non-volatile mean? Everybody see that? Nick, do you see this word non-volatile?
Yeah, I see it.
What does it mean? And what does it mean in a data warehouse? What does non-volatile mean?
It's like it doesn't change often.
It doesn't change, not often. It does not change at all. It does not change. My data where does my inventory database, Nick, change?
No.
If you had an inventory, we had an inventory card. We go to Home Depot, right? When you pick up some things, they have an inventory database. They have an inventory database. You buy something off the shelf. You think and you go and you actually pay for it, right? You don't put it in your pocket. You go through the scanner and you pay for it. And when you bought that one item at Home Depot, does their inventory change?
Yeah.
Yes, you know it. You just kind of are nervous in the way that I kind of just, called on you. Of course it changes. We have a card database. You go to a vendor, you go to you've gone on a plane before, right? And you made a reservation, right? Do you think that their bookings change on the number of seats they have? Of course they do, right? You don't want to be sitting on, sometimes what they do on purpose, they overbook, right? Have you ever seen that? Who wants to give up their seat? Because what are they expecting? That some people were doing it. But non-volatile in a data warehouse or data mine are non-volatile. It means that the user cannot change or update the data. So it's going to reflect the history of that. And it can be multi-dimensional, meaning that I can then view it in different aspects. I can see maybe by country, by state, by city. Maybe I want to see, hey, in the Northeast, where's the best place to recruit? It seems that my folks from New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, Connecticut, it seems like that area, they really like coming here, maybe to have sun and fun. So these are the kind of, and checking, then I can try again and I don't have it, but in checking, right, the primary, notice this, Mark, it says the primary purpose of a data warehouse, the word primary. What's the primary purpose? I can take some of these, maybe, does it enable users to change or update the data, Mark? We just said it was non-volatile. So does the data warehouse enable our users to change or update the data, Mark? I just said that data was non-volatile. What does non-volatile mean?
Non-volatile means it doesn't change a lot.
No, not a lot. It does not change.
Does not change, yeah.
Not a lot. A lot is not part of the vocabulary here.
Yeah.
It does not change, period. So I know that that's not a good answer. Right? So Alexa, what's a better answer? So I know I'm going to eliminate that already. So in test taking, Mark, I know I'm going to eliminate this one. So what should be the answer, Alexa?
Store data.
Okay, store data for short term, but this is the primary purpose. Is that what I want to do? Is that the primary purpose of a data warehouse? Is to store data for a short term? Is that the primary purpose?
Would it be to support business analytics applications?
Well, let's try it, right? Because to store, I could use, like in term short run. This is the key. What's the primary purpose? Okay. You got it? These may be what I could do, but that's why, Alexa, you see how it's so important to read it. What's the primary purpose? You got the idea? So Alexa, especially a shout out to you for helping us find the quizzes and the grades, right?
Of course.
And we also want to thank Isa and Morgan for moderating here. And also, Morgan, now I think you got a better idea of those roles, right? And what we mean by least privilege. I want to give the least amount of privilege to you, but I wanted you to do your job. I wanted you to be able to audit other students in the class, so I gave you to be teaching assistant. But in your grades, I gave you the least privilege. You're now the role of the student. You cannot change the grades. Daniel here grades met a lot of your assignments. As teaching assistant, then he should be able to input grades. He should be able to change grades, right, Morgan? I give him privileges. But in this case, since he basically has to keep track of his hours that he works, he gets paid. He can say, these are the hours I work. I have to, at this point, approve it. He's getting an hourly rate, even though in my opinion, he's worth 10 times more than what he's getting an hour. And that's truthfully what I say. I have to be in some constraints of what the university is allowing me to pay him. Do you understand? So there's constraints of least privilege. I would like to say he definitely deserves hundreds of dollars an hour, but it may be he has hundreds of dollars an hour when we're going to be doing an AI project and we'll work together on being a Gen AI professional in basically giving consulting services. Then if we can save a company $10,000, right, they can afford paying us $3,000. Or maybe doing, and they don't care how long it took us to do, right, Daniel? It's amazing. Basically, we go on the deal here. We split it. We save you 10,000. We take 30%.
Sounds like a good deal
for them too, right?
Yeah,
it's fair. So you see how it works, okay? So I think some of you have more work to do than others, but there's no surprises, right, Alexa?
No.
No. So we get to see each other on Monday. Hopefully everybody will heal up from all your health issues. And then we'll talk. We need to come there early. We need to come there with laptops. We need to come with IDs. And then after we do this, then we can start doing more projects. Right, Emerson? We can basically see more and more. We'll get that test over with, and we have one more. And even on the final, we'll spend time doing our projects. That's what I want to do. I want to minimize Emerson, I want to minimize the tests. I think I want to spend more time of actually giving you skills that you can do stuff with. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Me too. Okay. Thank you for participating. If you be so kind, Daniel, and put in the attendance.
Yep. 7188.
7188. Okay. I see it too. 7188. You're welcome to leave. Otherwise, stay with me if you have a question that I can address. Otherwise, I'll see you in the Monday.
Dr. Rush,
Yes.
for what did you say was the one thing that you can do that we can't under the audit section?
You cannot delete me.
Oh, okay.
Audit section because I'm instructor. I'm a higher level. But
Okay,
I,
that's it.
but you could delete everybody. So Tessa, tomorrow you could delete everybody in that class, everybody in that audit area.
But just not you.
You,
That's the
you
only
have, but you just
restriction.
couldn't delete me. But you can do exactly the same actions that I can. So that's the
Okay.
only difference between. So Daniel in our section, he could delete everybody in the class.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't do it, but he has the ability to, but he couldn't delete me from as being instructor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
My pleasure. Keep up the good attitude and we'll
Thanks.
see you on
We'll see you Monday. Thank you so much.
Monday. Perfect. Thank you. Tessa, you here? Tessa, you here? Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He checked in. I don't know.
Yeah, let me stop recording. 'Cause it's